Welcome to Unexpectedly Successful. Join us to hear the raw and genuine stories of women founders who have created their own pathways to possibilities. Welcome back to another episode of Unexpectedly Successful. Today we present Ephie Johnson, a powerhouse entrepreneur who turned her youthful experience in entrepreneurship into a very successful business right now, as she also navigates being the executive director to a nonprofit organization. Ephie began with $25 investment in candy that then turned into selling dresses, purses, braiding hair, whatever was needed to get that entrepreneurial experience under her belt. She believed in not quitting your day job when starting a business, wisely channeling the earnings to feed her enterprise, not her lifestyle, as many of us would love. And then came popcorn, a kernel that expanded 1,000-fold, just like her entrepreneur journey. If you want to hear how to grow a business and be a full-time employee elsewhere, please join us in this episode with Ephie Johnson. Let's go. I am very excited about our guest speaker today because I was introduced to her by a dear friend when she spoke to me about all the wonderful things that she has been doing through her career. Today, we're going to be talking about the for-profit part of what this guest speaker has. So today, audience, we have Ephie Johnson. She is the founder and owner of Pop-a-Roos Gourmet and Popcorn Shop. This company is a gourmet popcorn and concessionary company, and I am super delighted to have Ephie here, who is also a singer and a public speaker that travels around the nation and the world to speak about her experience and her wisdom. So welcome, Ephie, to our Unexpectedly Successful, the podcast. How are you today?
I was doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
It is my honor and pleasure. So, Ephie, we're going to go into the questions. Would you please tell us, what does it mean to be Ephie for you?
Being Ephie means passionate. It means transparency. It means a love for the faith that I believe in Jesus, and that's my faith, and I couldn't do anything I do without it. It means a daily prayer walk, and it means facing my fears and walking with courage, doing whatever I do through the fear and of whatever it is I want to do, and facing that and becoming and doing what it is I see. So that's who Ephie is. Also, she's a person that wants to be encouraging, uplifting, inspirational.
That's awesome. And we'll go into examples of how you've displayed all of those amazing adjectives in your life, Ephie. So tell us, when you started thinking about having a business in your early days as a human being, how that formation led into you becoming a business owner. Can you share with us that journey?
Well, I would say my journey first began when I was a very young girl. First, I saw my grandmother selling she was a seamstress. So she began to, when I was old enough to watch what she was doing, I would observe her making her patterns, sewing the dresses and things that the women would order from a picture off of a magazine. And then they would come pay for their dresses or whatever they were getting made. So I saw that. And I saw her throw a few drinks in a refrigerator or whatever. And so when somebody would come by, she's like, they want a drink, they could buy a drink, that kind of thing. So I saw that kind of thing happen from her. And I saw my mom and dad both be entrepreneurial in just how they serve the community, even though it was very missional. It was a Christ-centric, service-centric type of work, but it was entrepreneurial in how they developed it and what they did to fund the work that they wanted to do to help other people. So I've always seen that, witnessed that over the years. And so my father, when I said I wanted to sell drinks and candy and kind of be the candy lady, if you will, in the community, which I was more like a candy girl. But when I was doing that, I guess 11 years old or so, my
Wow.
father to a local store where you could buy wholesale candies and drinks and things like that. That what we
Uh-huh.
would call corner stores. I don't know if anybody knows about corner
Yes.
stores.
For my audience, can you please explain what a corner store used to be, Ephie?
Where I grew up, you may not have had a grocery store right down the street, and you had a little, what I would say people probably call a convenience store now, but it was
Uh-huh.
especially ethnically in the Black culture. I'm sure in other minority cultures, you have this, one of those owners that can, open up a little store down the street and they would sell almost everything. And, if you need a little dish detergent or you need a little whatever, they sold the penny cookies and the
Yes.
drinks and things like that. So the kids would have to walk down past our house to get to the corner store or wherever. So I was like, I'm gonna start selling drinks. And
Get the client before they went to the bigger store, huh?
so anyway, so that's what, I would sell that and I would sell different places and I would do pretty good, selling. So anyway, but my father and nor my mother, they never discouraged and said, why are you going to do that? Or what are you thinking about? I just said, Dad, I want to sell stuff. And I didn't have any money as a little person, and he took me there and I funded all of it. And I'm thinking about him funding it now. I didn't think about it in that way. I just knew that I wanted to do something. My daddy could help me do it, and he helped me that first round. And of course, the money I made, I would return it into the business or turn it back into the business and continue to grow. And so that was my first entree into uh, understanding entrepreneurship. And then I
Wow.
just to develop, I ended up opening a little store downtown in Memphis on Main Street in this little glass building, and a gentleman owned an art company or something right next. It was like nearly there were. It was like a two-sided building, and he rented me one side and let me sell purses and stuff. So I opened up a business called Everything, THANG. I thought I was doing something, and
Oh, that's awesome. So how old were you at that point?
I was 19. I'd gone downtown and got my
Wow.
business. My dad did not know it. I wasn't sneaking. I was just doing what I do. I was told you had to have a business license if you're going to do certain things. So I just went and got one. And
Wow.
so first year in college, and my cousin Valencia, who was willing to work with me, and she manned the store while I would go to class. I would go
Oh,
to
nice.
school.
So you already had staffing at that point. It
I had
was quick.
and then I would come in to relieve her because she was also in school and she was in a different college that I was in. I went to Memphis State, and I think she was at maybe Southwest at the time. I can't remember, but anyway, we did that and it was working, and I just kept on pushing, and then I braided hair and I did all these things, and I had a piano student, 14 piano students, and did so I just had multiple things I was doing to whatever came to my mind. If I felt like I could do it and it would also make money, I'd try it. So
Oh, how
that's what.
awesome, Evie. How awesome. So I'm gonna ask a question going back to your earlier time as your first endeavor as an entrepreneur. So when you went and
Yeah,
asked your dad, what was his reaction? You said, Dad, I want to open a store in the house. What was
yeah.
his reaction, and what do you think he thought of you at that moment?
Honestly, there's nothing that's coming to my mind that was alarming that he said. I just remember him getting up early in the morning on Saturday, and he would take me down to the Purity Products is what it was called, and he would patiently wait for me to walk around. I could get a little teary eyed thinking about that now. Walking around, picking out the drinks and the candies and whatever I thought would sell, and he'd wait for me to do what I need to do because after this, he had started this. I had my own money to pay. I got back in the car. We'd go home. There was no there was no conversation about that this was an inconvenience to him, or why am I doing this? Um, he just honored that I was doing it, and he always honored all of us, my brothers, my sisters, all of my siblings own businesses, and he always honored
Wow.
all of us in us being entrepreneurial. I just happened
Wow.
to be the oldest child, so it started with me doing something first, but all of us have something that we do ourselves. And my sister Linda has a nail salon. My brother owns a complex of built like a little mini mall where people rent spaces from him, and he has other businesses there. My youngest brother, my little brother, he has a food truck, and then I have my two gourmet popcorn shops and my other businesses. But all of us were never discouraged to not pursue our own desires in opening businesses. So I just
Wow. Wow.
all I is affirmation in that way. I never could see it. I don't recall anything that was halting us from doing anything.
Hmm. What an amazing memory there. And I'll go
Yeah,
back to it later in the conversation. But
sure.
so you talked about being 19 and opening your first storefront. How did you
Yes.
get funding for that, Ephie?
Well, there's no funding for a 19-year-old that just makes up stuff. There probably is, but I didn't think of. I never even knew to look for funding. Funding was not anything that was familiar to me. So like going to the bank and getting a loan or whatever, that was not what you did. I actually have a talk in a business now that I'm beginning to launch to take around and speak on this subject called hustlenomics. So my philosophy on hustling is that you sell what you have to sell to make the money you have to make to seed what it is you really want to do. And so,
Yes.
and then you continue to grow from there. And so, selling candy and selling my dresses and purses and braiding hair and doing all that was seeding my next opportunity. And from that point, it has grown to being able to do some of the things that I'm doing now. So like I said, my father was my first funding partner for my candy. He probably invested $25 or something, but that would, I mean, I was making, probably $200 or $300 a month from selling candy for its level
Wow.
so bad, and then from that point, I moved to selling the purses and everything, and I was doing pretty good with that. Braiding hair was really yielding really well, and so as I moved toward opening Pop-a-Roos, I just took the money that I had put aside, and I said I will continue to work, which is what you do. You don't quit your job off of a whim when you're starting a business. And
Mm-hmm.
then I took literally just a few thousand of dollars. It was less than 5,000 probably. And I began to buy product and pay my little rent. And and I decided that whatever I was earning was not going to be for my livelihood. It was for
Mm.
going to be for pay for a person to work there and to build a business. And because I did not turn it around to make it about me first,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is what has created a more effective approach. When you're
Wow.
creating a business and unless it's out of desperation because you don't have anything else and that's what you have to do, then that's understandable. But if you're desiring to create something for a sustainable return, and you're able to work and you're in a state of being where you can work and do that's what I did. And so I had to fund it. Now, there's some things I'd like to do in the future um, that might require that I get a loan for a few hundred
Mm.
thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I've established the credit. I have a line of credit for the current business I have. I have, all my bills are paid in a timely way, and so because of that, I have created the leverage to be able to get a loan if I needed that. But I
Right.
encourage people when starting something, especially because you can do online sales now.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage people, do not run for a brick and mortar business. Start off
Mm.
small and grow and build. And if you do need a brick and mortar, then do so. But you can do so well with online services now and pop up
Yes.
shops.
Yes.
and your overhead is so much less. So anyway,
Yes.
but that's how I funded it. I funded it bit by bit by selling things, doing whatever I had to do that was legal, and building that the dollars to so I could do what I really was trying to do next.
That's really awesome, Effie. So just recapping, the seed funding, although we did not call it that at the beginning, right? It
Right.
was your dad. That
Yes.
it was part of your family and friends as seed funding, and then that provided some profit that then you piled up to result in investment funds for your
That's
next endeavor. You
that's right.
also, Effie, mentioned that you had a job. Tell us a little bit about the job and how that became part of you building your own business to where you were seeing it.
Well, and we're talking in the current state. When I was 45, which was right at 10 years ago. I'll be 55 in the next 10 days. So 10 years
Happy
ago.
birthday in advance.
Well, thank you. But 10 years ago, I was looking at that I would be in this state that I'm in now where my children would pretty much be fully grown and graduating from college. So I have one more child that has about a year left of college. My
Okay.
firstborn is finished college and working on his career. And 10 years ago, they were both in junior high school. And said, okay, I need to help them learn what it means to create something from scratch as an upstart. And so I did, and they've learned and seen it grow and become something that they run into strangers that know about our product. So we've done a really good job in that way. I was working in where I still work at neighborhood Christian centers. And one thing I was talking to my mom about that I was going to establish this, she said, well, you have a job, you're president and CEO of an organization, and that is your priority. And I agreed with her on that. And I said, I will build this in my times that built around my work, And so I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, pop popcorn or whatever I had to do.
Wow.
I'd go in. uh, I love wigs, and I would wear one wig to pop popcorn in, and clothes to pop popcorn in, and change the wig in my hair when I got to work at 8 o'clock, and
Oh my
keep it
God.
going. And then I would leave from there most of the time at 5 o'clock, get myself together, go back to the shop, and I would pop popcorn and fill orders because I was the only worker at the time. And
Wow.
so a lot of stuff was just doing orders. And then I began to get enough popcorn popped. We had a little bit more clientele, and I hired a person to work there every day so they would work and sell the popcorn while I would be at work. So I was committed to doing the job that I was hired to do, and
Mm-hmm.
then committed to doing the work that I wanted to create, not only for me to have, for my children to learn, for my son to have his first job, which he did working. It wasn't his first job; it was my first employee was him that first summer, and then of course adding another person or two people after that. And I felt like, why am I? I'm helping people in the job I do every day with neighborhood Christian centers. My role is to help improve the lives of people in need, our neighbors in need. And people need jobs, people need opportunity. And we've always done that work. But how could I be a contributor myself? And
Mm.
so that evolved into being part of my why when
Mm.
when Pop-a-Roos began to increase in its presence and expand in its reach. And so my children grew out of being able to work every day for us because they had to go back to school, and one of them had to go to college, so he was not in Memphis, and I had to start hiring people. And so we have
Wow.
five people on payroll in 2 locations. We have fulfillment orders. They order online, and they go into our brick and mortar stores, and so it's work where I could delegate authority to two ladies that help manage those 2 different areas for me.
Nice.
Work every day and still do the work that I know God has called me to do missionally, while I'm supporting and encouraging and oversighting what they do to make sure those
Mm-hmm.
businesses work. I believe you should do your work 100%, and you should put 100% in your own work too. And however that, whatever
Awesome.
that, it doesn't add up. The math ain't mathing, but that's how you have to do it.
You just have to find more hours in the day to make it happen, right?
Well, I
And
tell people all the time, technology is the key to doubling your time. You can't get more than 24 hours, but have technology, it does help to use that to your advantage. And when you do that, you can use your emails, you can use things that monitor your cell systems and observe cameras, all types of things where you can do things at the same time throughout the day that encourage and ensure that your business works. And
That's awesome.
you don't have to do all the manual things that you used to have to do 50 years ago.
Going back to Pop-a-Roos, how did you think of creating a business around popcorn, Ephie? Tell me the story of how this idea came about.
We were riding from my husband's hometown is Jacksonville, Florida. So we were riding from there. And I knew the kids couldn't necessarily think of the medium that we were necessarily going to use. That was something maybe they couldn't think through on their own, but they could help come up with a store name. And so my youngest one said, well, it should be Snackaroos. So I said, you're on the right path, because snacks is something that, and I told them we need to think of something that is an impulse buy, and that people can eat every day, multiple times a day. We talked about that, and I looked at like what could we make that had a low value purchase value that could increase volume, that we could sell reasonably priced, and make a profit from. And one of the things that I looked at was popcorn, which we ended up doing. I tried to vend it first where somebody else was making it, and then we were reselling it. But nobody knew who I was in the first place. They didn't know what Pop-a-Roos was. And so we would sell a little bit, but only if we called for people to come, and, hey, we're selling popcorn today. But when I started learning to make it, and I went through a lot of burning of my arms and fingers and
God.
molding popcorn, popping on the face or whatever. But I learned to pop it and make it and create my own recipes, not like everybody else did, because no one really will share the recipes, which they shouldn't. But so I had to figure it out on my own. And I figured that was really not necessarily popular with people at first, because it was not what everybody else was doing. And then when people eating it and tasting it, like, this is really good. And then I started customizing the popcorn bags, which was a thing that no one was doing. So that made a different little angle for us. And we made a product that was sellable. I wanted to make sure there's something that people bought tasted good. And so I figured out that we can make it taste good, and that I can create a recipe that was replicable by people that were going to be working for me, so that people didn't know the difference. And so that was the next challenge. How do I make sure recipes are, I can communicate that with my team, they can repeat it, and we could be consistent with our flavoring and all of that. So that was, we can't have burnt pop bags and all that kind of thing, or the flavors are off, or it tastes like cheddar cheese today, it tastes like, chocolate. It can't do that, So those were really was intentional about, even with how we package, like, making sure that we knew, what scoops are we going to use when I'm not around. Everyone, these are the scoops we use to package with. This is the sealer we use. This is the labeling we use. This is the person that makes your quality control. The label's on straight. All those things matter when you have a small business and you're trying to get people to believe and buy in your product. They have to believe and see that your product is consistent, it looks good, it's packaged well, so on and so forth. And so all of that went into my selection. So finally, I'll say that we started off selling popcorn almost 10 years ago for $5 a container, or the larger bag we sell, and we still to this day sell it for the same price. I might have to change it. Even right now, we still at the $5 mode, except for our fundraiser bags, which are $6. It's the same bag, but because it's a fundraiser, we split it with our with the school or whoever we're doing it with. So we go up $1, and then they make it 30%, 50%. We do 50%.
Wow, Ephie, what a story! and I love the things that gems that you've dropped, which I'm gonna go back to those in a little bit. Sure. But it was from what you described, it was a very strategic thinking of what you could do with that could be scalable, that could be something that you can replicate quickly. And so I love that strategic thinking from very early on in the process.
But also that you only needed one medium. Now you needed multiple things to flavor it.
Mm.
But the primary medium was popcorn seed.
Yes.
And that medium could be made sweet, sour, or salty, the same one.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you could find something like that, then your inventory is easier to manage,
Mm-hmm.
and you know what you're working with. We're not diversifying, and I'm not doing peanuts and pork rinds and different things and trying to flavor. I'm doing popcorn.
Awesome. Ephie, I'm going to segue into my next question based on what you just said. Tell us about why you do the things that you do. Why did you create this business? You mentioned your kids before. You mentioned your father and your mother. Tell us why you do the things that you do.
Well, sometimes I don't know.
I love that answer. The most genuine one.
I don't know why. I think I know deep down in my heart that it just all stems from being hospitable, being wanting to encourage and inspire. So everything kind of comes from that nature. That I like making people feel better, feel happy, feel encouraged. That I sing, and so singing is a way of encouraging, uplifting, creating healing. Popcorn does the same thing. It brightens people's day. It encourages people. People that buy it for other reasons. Their businesses is they're using it to say thank you to someone or inspire them or whatever. People that are coming by to grab a 901 mix or a cheddar cheese or a banana pudding or whatever they're grabbing that day. They're grabbing it and they're like leaving with a smile, like this is so good, it's comforting or whatever. So I think that I just have an underlying desire to bring that type of feeling and emotion to the world, to people, and I feel like that creates it reduces tension, it lifts the spirit, and we need that, and so that's just my way of I guess doing that. Whatever I've done, whatever I do, is always without even. I've never tried to escape it, because I guess when I've tried other things, it always led to service. It always led that would help somebody or uplift somebody. So that's why I guess that I do what I do and the way I do it.
Awesome. Thank you for the work you do, and thank you for bringing smiles to those customers of yours. That's really sweet. And I never thought of singing and popcorn in a parallel, but it is so much as you describe it.
Yes, it is. It is.
All right. So you talked about technology, and then you talked about creating systems in this business of yours, Ephie. Yeah. How have you been able to learn about technology and creating systems that allows you to be more efficient, more effective, to train your employees to give a better service? Where did that come from, and what has it been for you to learn this very important piece?
My father was an Army man. He was a college graduate, master level college graduate, also an Army person, like I said. So he's very systematic. He was a systems person. He corrected our English, and he always talked about efficiencies just all the time. And I just believe it became innate. I began to see early on that I've got to be able to have systems in place that monitor how much popped popcorn we have in bins, how much seed we have, how much oil we have. Does that equate to how much popcorn should be in leftover? This whatever it is. And I had not about those things in the first 4 years of these last 9, because I was doing it. And entrepreneurs, people that own their own businesses and they're doing it themselves, you're not trying to waste your stuff. You're trying to serve wherever you can. You're not throwing this. Oh, it's about half a milligram of, I don't know, I'm just making up a number of oil left in here. I'm just going to throw that away and put it. And you're going to be putting that last drop and then adding. But guess people that don't have the same, don't know how hard it was for you to come up with that $32 for that gallon of oil. They don't mean any harm. They're just not thinking about it. So
Yes.
you have to create systems so that what people don't think about doesn't put you in the hole.
Mm.
And so entrepreneurs, people that have their own businesses, whatever you're inspired to do it with intellect, not just
Yes.
with not just with just because you're passionate about something,
Mm.
but apply intellect to what you're doing, and the skill you have, know that skill, develop it so that you can transfer that in a way of training to other people. So
Mm.
I began to Saturday mornings, I would get up early. And I know my family like, why are you getting up early? I got to go train people. You got to train people. Yes, I have to train people, or there'll be no one, because I know if I don't train people, when I go to work the next week, I'm going to have to figure out how to tell people on FaceTime how to turn the machine on. I
Mm.
don't have to
Mm-hmm.
do that. And so when those things started happening, I started learning these things, by the way, because of lessons, failed situations, or learn hard lessons I had to learn, and I try to be a
Yes.
quick. So when I come back and check in 2 or 3 days, and we're down to 2 gallons of oil, I was like, okay, we must have done this many bags of
Mm.
popcorn, and it's
Wow.
short. You know what I'm saying? And that might sound really particular and very, very specific, but if you want to win, know your business. And
Yes.
because other people start telling you, well, we did it this way. No, 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 no. And I had people doing that. I had certain scoops for certain product we'd have to scoop out. And maybe a would have broken or something, and I wouldn't know about it. And they might start using another scoop or
A
whatever.
different one.
And I might be out for 2 weeks and have a check on particular things, which I learned I have to do better on that. And I have improved over the years now. But I would go and say, or I might have to pop an order because somebody had to leave. And I was like, who's using this scoop? This scoop
Mm.
is 2 times as much as what we should be doing.
Wow.
What I learned was I had to say, this is what we use. This is why we use it. Do not
Mm-hmm.
exchange anything, because when you
Mm-hmm.
do that, it messes with the bottom line.
Ephie, when you first talked about how these people that you have as part of your team, they manage the stores, you made it sound really easy. Yeah,
Yes.
they do what they do, and I oversee that. But then now going into the work that it took you to get to that place where you have the systems, where you know your business in detail, and then you could train people to then replicate what you had already put in place. So for my audience, it's not like Ephie just doesn't supervise, but she's done the homework prior to getting to this place. And that's very important. And I love what you say, Ephie, about not just putting into the business the passion, which is important, but the intellect to be able to put the systems, know the numbers, know how much it costs something, when the price increases, how much that's going to affect your bottom line, your profit, etc. So I love those two, profit and intellect. It's really cool.
Yes.
Ephie, I'm going to take a turn here. I know your family, what the answer was, but from everybody else, were you expected to be successful?
I don't know if anybody cared about I think it's always assumed not success to the level I think it's begun to have. I mean, when I was growing up and stuff, it was just a local little thing that you did to keep keep you having a little some money in your pocket.
Uh-huh.
Get to the scale where it is now, which is still not where I would see it as what I deem successful. I want to have hundreds of employees selling popcorn all over the
Yes.
world.
Yes.
But to be as sustaining as it is and all that, I think that my family and friends are pleasantly surprised. It's not the right word, surprised, but it's not right. But I think they always saw me as a person that was an achiever,
Mm-hmm.
and that what I set my mind to, I can do it. But I think people are proud.
Mm-hmm.
I
Good.
see that. I hear people always say, "Oh, my friend owns that," or "Oh, I know the good lady does that." I hear that from people periodically, or I've been places that people have been talking about my product and didn't know I was the owner.
Oh, wow. That's a cool
So,
experience.
and that's that. Oh, I'm a real company. I'm a real business.
You are a real company, Ephie.
So when we first started selling popcorn, and you get your first customers and everything, and they're buying the product, and you're like, "Oh, thank you for buying this. You're buying this like I'm a real business." That's
Oh
you're always
my
like,
God. Can you dig into that moment when you made your first sale, Effie, what it meant for you as a business owner?
I felt like really honored that people would come and purchase it. But at the beginning, it was probably family and friends and a few folks that kind of knew us, around. And so I was honored that they came. But when I felt like I really was becoming accomplished in the work of, I mean, in our efforts with popcorn or selling popcorn, was when people started coming by and buying it because they had it somewhere else, or
Huh.
we were there and you're
Yes.
supposed to come from this place because they're here, and
That's
they didn't know
awesome.
me, they didn't know anything about that, they just knew there was good stuff and they came in to buy it, and
Yeah.
that just makes you feel good, like, wow, that's awesome. I didn't even know this stuff could work like this. That makes you feel good and accomplished. Then, like, okay, I kind of made it a little bit.
That's awesome. That sounds like a very exciting moment when people just came to buy your product with no other reference to it, but how good it was. Okay, so we talked about the really cool stuff when you made your sales with people that didn't know Effie and it was just because of the product. What have been experiences on the other side, hardship, fears, stressful, that you were like, like you said before, I don't know why I do what I do, but you were like scared. I mean, those things that are so real for a business owners. Tell us about one of those that is like, oh my God, I was scared, I was fearful, I was stressed. I don't know, I didn't know what to do.
Well, at the beginning, when I started, you fake it till you make it. So you're so, oh yeah, I can make that. Oh yeah, we can do that. I'm like, girl, I never done that. Our first order, but was say, can you do something? So I remember the machines that I have now were what I used to dream about 10 years ago. We were
Uh-huh.
using these, I mean, just the regular popcorn machines. You would everyone in your audience has seen the red machines that have the little popcorn kettle in there and you just turn it over. Well, those are not machines you're supposed to use for a gourmet popcorn shop. That's what you use
Yes.
at a school to pop popcorn for your students or something like that. Just butter pop. I was doing stuff pretty much I know it wasn't made to do, like with sugar and all kinds of stuff. And one time I had an order, and this lady ordered Christmas tins, and she was like ordered for all her teachers or something. It was probably like 50 to 100 Christmas tins of popcorn. But I had that one machine. I didn't have like two or three. One machine that my daddy had, and he had passed on when I used that, and he would have never thought that I would even make a business out of it. And that was the popcorn machine I had. And honey, it popped like 5 ounces of popcorn at one time. It was something really just crazy. And so to do that order, I had to do it all through the night. And I think the machine stopped working right. And I had to find another machine the next day. And someone told me about a popcorn machine that, oh yeah, I got a friend, she has a popcorn machine they're trying to sell. And it's at her house. And I had enough little money that I could go and buy it. And I went and bought the machine, and I was like, oh Lord, this is not gonna be the right. And I got the machine because I didn't have any other options. I couldn't afford the ones that I really needed. And that
Mm-hmm.
machine, like a machine that it was older, it was not made for industrial use. And I popped probably less ounces of popcorn with it. popcorn machine than what I had. And I finally got somebody to fix the other, but it was way later. Anyway, that I was crying in the middle of the night, like I'm never gonna get this order finished. And I
Oh
had
my
and a
God.
lot of process to it because it had to have marshmallows added and sprinkles, and it was just a whole thing. And I was trying to make sure they were all exactly right. And I literally said, if I get through this, I'm just gonna close it. I'm not gonna do popcorn no more. But then I finished it. I delivered it. I got some rest, got up the next morning, delivered it, and she was happy about it. I think they ordered it maybe one more time after that. So I knew that it worked out. And I was like, okay, I made it through. I'm gonna try it again. And then we had another time where it was our first people ordering like 2,000 bags or something like
Mm.
that. And I finally
Wow.
got in one bag, and I was like, we're gonna be here all night. And I had to bring like 10 people. I was just saying, all my friends, come help us get this
Wow.
order. So, those were like two times, like two firsts that I had
Mm-hmm.
that I had
Mm-hmm.
talked out there said, oh yeah, we could do it. We could do it. And I
Mm.
did do it, but I didn't know I didn't know it was gonna take all that. I didn't know that was break down. But anyway, but I made it through, and it worked out. But it was just, the other thing that was a tough, that had nothing to do with the actual popcorn making, was just the back end of the business,
Mm.
making that I remember to pay my sales taxes by
Mm.
the every month. And I didn't realize that when I first opened, I didn't realize that if you didn't have sales, that first, like the first 3 or 4 months, I probably didn't have sales at all for like 2 months worth to even talking about. And
Yes.
I didn't report, right? I mean, I literally didn't have anything to report. And I didn't realize that. And the tax people was coming for me because they were like, you're a business, but you're not reporting this. And they gave me some grace, of course. And they was like, you have to report your
Mm.
sales taxes every month, regardless of your pay, if you have money to any sales tax to
Revenue
pay.
or not.
And,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, this was early on in the game. And of course, I know this now, but I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that. I thought I just pay when I get something. When I get,
Yes.
like, no, man, we'll shut you down. Whatever."
Yes. So, Iffy, what is next for your business?
I want to, I want to open up another store. I'm not comfortable yet just with the economy right now, but I would like to open up another store. I had a third store, but during COVID, I didn't even talk about how hard COVID was. So that was a
Mm.
given.
Talk
COVID was
about
just,
COVID, how hard it
yeah.
was.
Well, I had a third store that I'd opened in the mall, and 6 months out of that year, everything was going pretty good. And then 6 months of that year, before that contract was up, was COVID shut down the mall, because the
Mm.
mall, if the mall closes, you can't go into your business. If you have your own brick and mortar where you can go in and out, you can create curbside services, whatever. Which is what's
Yes.
kept me, by the way, with my other store. But that mall situation was that I couldn't get in and do anything. And so
Mm.
I was paying significant dollars, but not making any money. And so I was able to just pay every month and get out of that. And I decided to close it down. And, but probably my pride was more so hurt than anything. I was relieved that I didn't have to pay that debt every month. But my pride was a little hurt because
Mm.
people, I had a third store. Oh, she had closed down the third store. She couldn't keep
Mm.
it going. And no
Mm.
one's ever said that to me, but that's where I feel like people would take,
Yes.
And so
Yes.
a little like I failed because I didn't keep the store going. But it was a blessing because my third store technically is my online store, and it does very,
Mm.
very well. It doesn't require me to pay for any rent or anything like that, or anybody manning it. And so, but I do feel like there's some opportunities to open a third store and to really, really um, begin to get our product into stores. So that's what I'd
Mm.
like to do, next. And I do have
Awesome.
it's in the airport, it's in a few places, but I really want to consistently be able to get it into grocery stores.
That's really exciting. So, Effie, one last question about your upbringing. What would you
Sure.
think your parents would say to you to see the wonderful woman you've grown up to be as a successful business person, as a responsible founder of many initiatives?
My mom was so sweet. She was like, "Oh, you're doing good. You're making that money." Huh?" Like I mean, that's the like, "Yo, you're doing it. What you doing, big time?" Whatever. So I feel like, at the beginning, she was like, "What are you getting ready to do? Make sure you make a good decision." Like you try to do so much, but she sees now that I have an ability. God is doing it, is undergirding me to be able to manage those different things. And I think
Mm.
I know she's proud of not just me, but my siblings and myself, and us being able to do that. And I believe my father would be he's not here with us on earth anymore, but I believe he's very proud of seeing us do something that actually when he was dying, he had begun to talk about opening up a general store. And whereas the
Mm.
Gourmet Pop not a general store, it's closest to I thought about it. I wrote a little story online about this being, kind of in honor of my father in a lot of ways
Mm.
because it's kind of reminiscent of a general store with the gourmet popcorn. And so I
Yes,
feel like very honored that and proud that this is working. Yeah.
that's really cool. Ephie, what is one thing that you're most grateful about you being a business owner and just the things that come with that? What are you one thing that you're most grateful about?
I'm grateful that I can help create opportunities for other people.
And if you were to summarize your journey as an entrepreneur, Ephie, in one word, what would that be?
Adventurous.
Adventurous. I love it. Why? What came to your mind?
I was trying to think of what's positive and not and negative at the same time. But it's hard and fulfilling at the same time, shall I say. And adventures can be challenging, but they also are fulfilling, and can yield wonderful experiences and results. And so I think that is what this has been. It's been adventurous. The process of getting to where I am at this point has been adventurous, and I believe there'll be greater adventure along the way. All processes have challenge, but they don't have to be defeat. And so I feel like that on a purposeful path. As I pray and ask God to guide my path, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, that I will end up right where He wants me. I'm right where He planned for me to be, and in this journey, and that it's a God adventure, and therefore I'm excited and happy about it.
That's really cool, Effie. And for closing, what words of wisdom would you tell my audience for those women out there that they are thinking they need to do something more than what they're currently doing and are unsure of what to do next?
Take the step. Do it in fear. Don't let that stop you, because you can never know what's on the other side if you don't leap, and you don't want to regret that you didn't try it. What's wrong with trying it? If you fail, you're just back where you are right now. If you succeed and move forward, then you get to see what's on the other side. So I think that's the main thing. Um, a part of that jump is most of the time you're not going to create a business that's just responding or just doing what it is you've always wanted to do. It could be that happens and it works out for you, but most of the time businesses should be responding to what there's a gap or need that people need solved, and that you can create and help make that work. Me and my friend, I'm at her house right now because there's a wind advisory, so I stopped here, and um, she's probably not thinking I'm serious about this, but she and I are gonna work on this project, and we're gonna come up with this little idea that we came up with a few seconds ago, and I can't talk about it now because we got to do it first.
You cannot disclose it.
Yeah, I might come back on there and talk to you about it if it actually works. But the thing is, we're thinking about what we're creating is something responding to a need out of that is happening in our community, that we're like, people need this. Let's create that. So anyway, so think that those that are out there listening, those ladies that are listening, those people that are listening, they should look and see what hole can I fill, what need can I respond to that has a way of making money,
Yes.
and something simple, small, easy to do, and build on that.
Awesome. Awesome. Ephie, where can my audience find you and your delicious popcorn?
Well, you can go to Pop-a-Roos, Pop-a-Roos.com, Pop-a-Roos.com. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, my on there. You'll get emails back from us if you order online. Delivery is so horribly expensive right now if you're not in the cities, but we can deliver or have it mailed and delivered to you or shipped to you. Also, my number's on there, so you can text me if you like to invite me to come speak or to come and talk about what we do or hustlenomics, and then eventually we'll have an Ephie Johnson website, but we're still working on that. But you can go to Pop-a-Roos.com and still reach out to me.
Ephie, what are we going to find under ephiejohnson.com? Because that's super exciting for me to hear.
So what the goal is that it would have kind of a catalog of all things Ephie, which is from my music, how you can book me for music, how you can book for consultation, how you can book me for speaking or hosting. I just hosted a TEDx event for Memphis not too long ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Or how you can access our popcorn, or how you can, if you're in the city Memphis or near around, how you can hire my Bluff City handling company for large landscaping jobs or small build work that we do, construction type work. And then I have a choir that I've created called Ephie Johnson and Bluff City Praise. And we do large events and things like that. So anyway, all of that would be listed. Kind of click on which thing you need and we'll respond.
Awesome, Ephie. So we focus on the popcorn today, but this was just the first layer to the many more initiatives that Ephie has in the works. And we are excited to see that wonderful website where you can access all the amazing talents and gifts that Ephie has to offer to this world. I'm excited about your speaking engagements as one of your goals, Ephie, and also your singing, which is something that is wonderful. So my audience, if you want to hear Ephie Johnson sing wonderful songs of her authorship, just Google her and you'll find wonderful pieces online. Thank you for all the work that you do, Ephie.
My pleasure. I enjoy it all, and I will leave this with you that when people say, "Oh, you do so many things, how do you keep it all together?" Whatever, God keeps it all together. That's the first thing. But if He gives your audience, just like He's given you and myself, multiple talents, then I believe He wanted us to use them. And we don't have to use them all at one time, but we need to keep them in the forefront so we won't lose them. So
Correct.
That's exercise, keeping my brain flow and keeping me staying focused in those different areas that I'm gifted in, just like the people listening have many gifts to offer. Work on those, hone in on them, improving those skill sets, and use them. And your gifts will make room for you in those different places as you continue to move forward. So I encourage you and to do that.
Because you're awesome. That is so true. That is so true. So audience, you all have gifts, you all have talents. Figure out how you're going to use them, because then that's why you have them, to make use of them and make a difference as you continue moving forward. Ephie, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have this conversation. I look forward to many more engagements with you, and thank you for your time today.